The Happy Monk. Once upon a time, there was a high class rich man. As he became older, he realized that suffering of an old age was about the same for rich and poor alike. So he gave up his wealth and class position and went into the forest to live as a monk. He practiced meditation and developed his mind. He freed himself from unwholesome thoughts and became contented and happy. His peacefulness and friendliness gradually drew 500 followers to his side. At that time, long ago, most monks usually looked pretty serious, but there was one monk who, even though he was quite dignified, always wore at least a little smile. No matter what happened, he never lost his glimmer of inner happiness. And on happy occasions, he had the broadest smile and the warmest laughter of all. Sometimes, monks, as well as others, could ask him why he was so happy that he always wore a smile. He chuckled and said, "If I told you, you won't believe me. And if you thought I spoke a lie, it would be a dishonor to my master." The wise old master knew the source of happiness that could not be wiped from his face. He made this happiest monk his number one assistant. 1 year later, after the rainy season, the old monk and his 500 followers went to the city. The king permitted them to live in his pleasure garden for the springtime. This king was a good man who took all his responsibilities as ruler seriously. He tried to protect the people from danger and to increase their prosperity and welfare. He always had to worry about neighboring kings, some of whom were unfriendly and threatening. He often had to make peace between his own rival ministers of state. Sometimes his wife fought for his attention and for the advancement of their sons. Occasionally, a dissatisfied subject even threatened the life of king himself. And of course, he had to worry consistently about the finances of the kingdom. In fact, he had so much to worry about that he never had time to be happy. As summer approached, he learned that monks were preparing to return to the forest. Considering the health and welfare of the old leader, the king went to him and asked, "Your reverence, you are now very old and weak. What good does it do to go back to the forest? You can send your followers back while you remain here." The chief monk then called his number one assistant to him and said, "You are now be the leader of the other monks while you all live in the forest. As I am too old and weak, I will remain here as offered by the king." So the 500 monks returned to the forest and the old one remained. The number one assistant continued practicing meditation in the forest. He gained so much wisdom and peace that he even became happier than before. He missed the master and wanted to share his happiness with him. So he returned to the city for a visit. When he arrived, he sat on the rug at the feet of the old monk. They did not speak very much, but every so often the number one assistant would say, "What happiness! Oh, what happiness!" Then the king came to visit. He paid his respect to the chief monk. However, the one from the forest just kept saying, "What happiness! Oh, what happiness!" He did not even stop to greet the king and show proper respect. This disturbed him, and he thought, "With all my worries, as busy as I am looking after the kingdom, I took time out for a visit, and this monk does not respect me, even recognize me. How insulting!" He said to the seniors of the two monks, "Venerable sir, this monk must be stupid from overeating. That must be why he is so full of happiness Does he lie around here so lazy all the time? The head monk replied, O king, have patience, and I will tell you the source of his happiness. Not many knew it. He was once a king, just as rich and mighty as you. Then he was ordained a monk and gave up his kingly life. Now he thinks his old happiness was nothing compared to his present joy. He used to be surrounded by armed men who guided and protected him. Now, sitting alone in the forest with nothing to fear, he has no need for armed guards. He has given up the burden of worrying about wealth that has to be protected. Instead, free of worry of wealth and fear of power, his wisdom protects himself and others. It advances in meditation to such an inner peace that he cannot keep from saying, What happiness! Oh, what happiness! The king understood at once. Hearing the story of a happy monk made him feel at peace. He stayed for a while and received advice from both of them. Then he honored them and returned to the palace. Later, the happy monk, who once been a king, paid his respect to his master and returned to the lovely forest. The old chief monk lived out the remainder of his life, died, and was reborn in a higher heavenly world. What does the happy monk teach us? True happiness is not found in the accumulation of wealth and power, but in the contentment that comes from valuing relationships, experiences, and inner peace. The more we detach ourselves from material desires, the more we open ourselves to the richness of life's simple pleasures and genuine connections. Please consider subscribing. See you soon.